Hi everyone, my name is Philiana Ng, senior editor at Entertainment Tonight, and it is my pleasure to introduce the panelists for today's conversation for In Creative Company, featuring the writers and star of Hulu's Plan B. First, we have Joshua Levy,
Hi.
Prathiksha Srinivasan,
Hi.
and last but certainly not least, actor Victoria Moroles. Welcome. Thank you so much for doing this virtual Q&A. It must be nice to see everybody's faces again.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having us.
Cool. Well, just getting right into it, what struck me about this movie is that while Plan B is incredibly funny and raunchy at times, it is also, unafraid to tap into and explore the painful kind of truths about what can happen when a teenage girl finds herself in a very desperate situation after she's denied access to a Plan B pill. So for the writers, I guess I'll start with you guys because you guys kind of wrote the story. How did this idea for the movie come to you? Was it something that you guys had discussed for years, or how did this kind of come to be?
Well, that's what was so crazy about it, is because we didn't discuss it. So what ended up happening was we had a meeting with Hertz and Schlossberg, who are the creators of Harold and Kumar. And we had a meeting with their company and their director of development, Matt Lotman. And we got into this meeting and we sort of turned to them and said, hey, look at us. We are practically Harold and Kumar. And so in that meeting, Prathi actually started to talk about, which at the time was a big deal, and still, of course, unfortunately is about women's rights to their own bodies.
So basically, we're sort of talking about the idea that it's not a question about pro-choice or anti-choice or this or that. It's literally, actually, it's hiding the reality that the problem is just access. Just literally, before you make a choice, you have to be given an option. And that's the real sort of frontier in which women are sort of being dictated to what they can do with their own bodies. They're not even given the choice to decide about what they want to do. So, and I mean, this is of course a much more elegant way of saying it, when in the room it was this far more sort of intense, sort of really emotional thing, because it is a very emotional thing. And it's a very, very personal thing for every single woman on planet Earth. It's an incredibly, incredibly personal thing. The choice is literally inside of your bodies. The stakes are inside of your bodies, literally. So we were so basically what it kind of boiled down to was, the sort of American dream for two dudes is to get a burger, but the American dream for two women, it's to literally get a chance to decide what happens to your body. And so so we were like, what if it's a road trip where it's two women instead of two guys, and instead of burgers, it's the Plan B pill. And Matt Lotman lit up like a 1,000-watt bulb. And rumor has it that after we left our general meeting, he ran into his executive's offices, Hertz and Schlossberg, and said, "We're doing this movie, please." And that's the start of it. We started working with them from the very inception of it.
Well, how did you approach telling a story that focuses on something incredibly real that a lot of people go through in today's world? And without it seeming, preachy or there's a lesson to be learned here. Because I think the movie does a really good job of really balancing, these friends and their kind of journeys of self-identity as well, and their friendships, coupled with this really, time-sensitive thing that they're having to, go through.
I think it was literally, we just did it with a sense of honesty. Because from the very beginning, we were given the explicit instructions of just put yourself into the story. Just put whatever you two have going on here, just put that on the page. So that's literally what we did. We just tried to be as honest as possible. And what came out of it was something that I think feels as dirty as it is full of heart. And well,
And I think what we really thought was super important was that the friendship at the center of the movie because, you know, Prathi and I, we've known each other since high school. We've been best friends since high school. So we understood that what we have is very special, and we'd like to show the world sort of that sort of friendship and relationship. You know, like, you know, one person's LGBT, spoiler alert, one person's LGBT, and, you know, one person is dealing with, you know, her own cultural backstory, and how do these two characters come together? And what exactly does it mean to be best friends in a world that doesn't necessarily support who you are, just fundamentally?
Yeah. The most important thing, I think, was to show that teens are very resourceful and very, very smart, and are very, you know, multifaceted, and are very important, and also do not have all the answers. It's the same thing with any sort of friendship. Like, you don't have a friendship so that one person can just keep giving you the answers to life. So they're just travel buddies. They're just buddies going through life, trying to figure it out together and having each other's backs all the way through. Like, one is not tremendously ahead of the other in any capacity, even though they're sort of positioned as like yin and yang studiously, especially. That's the sort of authenticity I think is what makes it feel sort of a little more real.
So for Joshua and Prathi, I mean, who is, I guess, the Lupe or the Sunny in terms of like personality traits? Like, is there?
Josh, who do you think is the Lupe or the Sunny?
It's such a question that I don't think anybody can answer. No, yeah, I think like, obviously, like, you know, we didn't literally write our literal selves into it, but we wrote our experiences and what we wanted to say about the world. You know, and for me personally, it was really about finding an LGBT story that felt authentic to my own experience in Lupe.
That perfectly segues into my question for Victoria. I mean, when you first got your hands on the script, what immediately intrigued you about, you know, this world that they had created, and, you know, this character of Lupe, who was incredibly loud on the page and bold, and just curious what really jumped out at you initially.
Yeah, well, I enjoy hearing the two of them speak about. I could just literally just watch y'all talk all day, because it's still such a I love hearing them explain how they wrote it, because that is, you know, somewhat of what I felt whenever I read it, and I knew that there was a sense of the authenticity that I connected to, and I had never read anything like it, and I was like, this is a very smart way to talk about something that's really important, that I connect to, and that I know, I mean, women everywhere connect to, and I'm laughing hysterically. What? Like, this is it was so very cool, and I'm a big fan of buddy comedy. And yeah, I thought that initially when I read the script, the character of Lupe wasn't, it was another character. And it was the same character. It was, well, let me rephrase. It was the same character as far as her being Sunny's best friend, but the character changed over the course of I don't know, about a month or so when I was cast. And so I kind of got to see them birth something really amazing. And so I saw the initial place that Lupe was for Sunny, the kind of placeholder and her support, and how that played into her own journey. And then all the little fun Lupe things just kind of came in so naturally. And I think that was my favorite part about it.
I
Sorry.
I was going to say, like, and that's also a testament, these changes are a testament to Natalie Morales, our director, who also brought her own authentic experience to Lupe as well. And she was always insistent on, you know, what if we did this, or what if we like tried this? And so, you know, definitely want to give props to her too.
Yeah. She was so instrumental to that sort of coming out moment with Lupe. Spoiler alert, she comes out. To the sort of specificity of that coming out moment, that she felt was very personal to her own story. And I think that moment, I think a lot of people have really, really resonated with, have really kind of spoken out about how much it was mirroring their own coming out moment. So it's especially sort of meaningful that so many different people, like queer people of color, women, came together to create a project that feels authentic on so many different levels, not only on a sort of legal level, the sort of frustrating loopholes that you're sort of shoved into, down to the educational level, how it will let you down in ways that you don't see coming, to an ethnic level, to an LGBT level, to even being in middle America, and how that can feel like you're so unseen and you're in an island completely surrounded by land.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to touch on to kind of Lupe's journey this movie, because, you know, at the start of the film, she's somebody who you think you know, but as the movie progresses, more and more layers are peeled back, and like her true identity and her truth is, you know, is kind of slowly unraveled, and it's really beautiful to see. For Victoria, I mean, was there a scene or a moment in the movie that you felt really encapsulated kind of who she was? Or is that I don't know if that's a tough question for you to answer, but because I loved seeing her she surprised me, so like just curious here.
She surprised me too. Honestly, there are so many moments I could pin down for you. This experience of living with Lupe was quite a journey of my own personally, and I was emotionally surprised a lot. But I think one of the, you know, the biggest moment for me is really the scene with her dad at the end, because I feel this, I can still feel this shift for her in this deep place in her heart, that unlocks something. And there's something so moving about us as humans and how we gather, you know, we gather these different personality traits and all these little things to create this like beautiful shield to the world. And whenever you're able to unlock one of those things and kind of let something down, it's really powerful. And I think that that's the reason why a lot of people connected with her story, because it was that big of a moment for her, especially when you're a teen, because those years are pretty tough as far as what you're presenting to society and who you are really inside.
And it's also kind of powerful in its own way, because, and poignant, because she's not quite ready to tell her father, right? But she's slowly kind of planting the seeds there, I guess, in that moment. Or am I?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was multiple different ways that it was talked about of how that scene was going to go, and I really, really loved the way that we ended up choosing the way that went. It was I feel like it was just perfect, because it was just enough to say I am seen and I'm safe. And I think that's the biggest thing that Lupe needed to hear in that moment.
Another, I mean, you guys all talked about the real, you know, strong friendship at the center and the heart of this movie. For, you know, Joshua and Prathi, like, what were those unique challenges in kind of finding those individual voices for Lupe and Sunny? Because they're so independent and so distinct, but yet complement each other so well. Like, they just fit perfectly as a puzzle. So just curious how you guys both really kind of honed in on that.
So I know that when we started, our big thing was making sure that we tell an authentic story with teens who sound like real people. And then the second big thing was defining sort of like the female nerd for, today, where it's like, oh, like, we're, people, Prathi in particular is really into anime and really into like referencing things and really into like all of these things that feel very current and now. And so we wanted to basically combine the two and make sure that it feels like, sort of what Judd Apatow in our mind did for Freaks and Geeks, we wanted to do for women or young women.
Sort of the idea, I mean, we sort of, in terms of how they feel so distinct, but they sort of fit together very seamlessly, was the idea that that's literally how they feel. As teens, as young women, they feel like I'm not super complete as a person unless I have my other half with me. Like, I'm not ready to go on this journey unless my girl is with me, because otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, that's the real unknown. The unknown is not getting the pill or not getting the pill. The unknown is, what's my life going to be like without this person who's always been there for me? So it was very important for us to make them feel like they're full people. They're absolutely individuals. But when they come together, it's like they just feel like a very round and full experience. The idea is that they actually don't judge each other at any point, even though they have, like, I just like on a personal level, what we really pulled is that I have a great inability to make small talk. I don't understand how to do it. I'm like, everything's a deep dive. Everything is always going to be like, how's your mother doing? Or even more so, it's like, let's talk about this incredibly obscure comic book from the 1980s. So you've never heard of it? I have the comic book right here. We're going to talk about it right now. Go read it, come back, sort of thing. Like, that's how they vibe all the time. Every time they encounter somebody, it becomes a deeper interaction with their own identities and forming themselves up into individuals separately and together. That's like the growing pains of when you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you're like, oh yeah, after this, I'm supposed to grow up. Fuck.
At points, it was literally like for the map scene when it's two girls discussing like how to read this damn paper map. It literally was Prathi and I taking out a map and being like, what is this? And we just wrote down what we said.
Yeah.
Like there are little things like that are just peppered in throughout.
Victoria, your on-screen chemistry with Kuhu who plays Sunny, is so palpable and believable. How did you kind of create that with her? And, was there a lot of discussion, backstory? Did you just like hang out? Or maybe you couldn't because I don't know, but just curious about how you even kind of created that connection.
Yeah. Well, at some points, it really did kind of feel like tunnel vision with the two of us while we were filming because we were so kind of captivated by one another. And personally, and Sunny and Lupe, I think that we kind of coincided for that period of time while we were filming, and I think that was really important for us, and it was not anything that we had a problem doing because we truly enjoyed each other's time. But I think something that was super cool was we were able to see each other. We were actually, we were together every day, so we were some of the only people that could really just be together on and off set because I was face to face with her every unmasked. And so it was a weird COVID time of being able to connect with somebody so deeply. We just met each other 5 seconds ago, and now we're best friends. And we fell into that quite quickly. And one thing that I thought was super interesting was that Kuhu doesn't drive. She lives in New York City. So we had to drive to set every day. So I had a car, and instead of somebody coming to pick her up, I just said, well, I'll drive you. So there was a nice mirroring effect that happened where we would drive to and from work together, and that was our time to tap into check in with each other and tap in and say, hey, let's do this today. And borderline, Kuhu and Victoria and Sunny and Lupe. It was a really special experience.
That's awesome. I mean, I really feel it too. Like it just like really jumps off the screen that you guys are, even though you guys met for this movie, I really believe that you guys were actually maybe best friends or something, or have been friends for a long time. But the movie also drops in, references to other kind of teen classics and kind of really plays on the tropes of the teen movie genre. How did you kind of determine, like, yeah, how the kind of vibe of that and the tone of that, direction of that, and were there any kind of favorite references in this movie that you put in that really kind of got you excited?
For me, or
for the writers.
Oh yeah, for the writers. It was like I
Victoria, what did you do for the?
I like super bad fun, and I drew from a few things.
Just say John Hughes, and that's all you have to say.
So I mean, that was actually. Oh, I'm sorry. So I mean, that was actually Natalie's sort of love of 80s teen movies that she kind of followed up. I think that was her bread and butter growing up. So she was like, hell yeah, I'm putting this in there. But my favorite reference to any film done here was actually not a teen movie. It was Alien. There's a shot that is reminiscent of Alien. And those of you who have watched Alien, you know the shot. You're aware. Spoiler alert.
Awesome. I think they're wrapping us. So before I let you guys go, what do you want people to know about the movie and about Plan B?
That is a great question. I want them to know that it's on Hulu. It's available. No, what I really want people to know when I talk about it usually is that, Prathi and I, we've known each other for such a long time, and our friendship has grown, and we've also grown as people, and we've grown together. And I just hope that when people watch it, they kind of see it, either themselves on screen or us on screen, or at least connect to something that, is emotional. And it is something that, I hope that they connect the authenticity of that.
I think what I'd want to say, it sounds super gushy, so go ahead and cut this if it doesn't work out. But the idea is that like people find all kinds of ways to litigate and control each other and try to prescribe what is appropriate and what makes you good enough. But the thing about that, the major flaw to that is that people assume that love comes in one sort of form. But in this film, throughout all of that strife and all of those penis getting ripped out moments, that love finds every one of these characters in really unexpected ways and unexpected places. It could be in your home, it could be in the backseat of a car, it could be at a gas station, all sorts of random packages. And I think as much as life makes it easy to sort of fall into the pitfall of seeing struggle everywhere, there's also an opportunity to see love everywhere. And I think this movie balances both sides of that seesaw with as much grace as possible.
And Victoria, if you have anything to add to that.
How do I follow that? That's what I want for everybody too. It's true. It's like I've never seen or experienced anything like this, and I'm not saying that. I mean, if I had seen this when I was 17 years old, I would have quite literally bawled my eyes out and just felt so seen. And so I think that I do want everyone to know, like, there's so many, every single person who's involved with this is so special, and everybody put in this massive amount of heart, and I think that you can see that. And so I think that, your experience hopefully is our experience of making it, and everybody's connects to Sunny or Lupe or whoever, or it's like literally anybody.
drug dealer.
The main.
Yeah, the drug dealer. Yeah, connect to him.
So,
Yeah, there are some characters in this movie for sure, for sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, and I hope everybody has a chance to check out Plan B if you haven't already. It's streaming now on Hulu, and thank you so much for your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.